Very excited for a big weekend coming up at Louisiana Downs. It is Louisiana Cup Day on Saturday. 6 stakes races on a 9-race card. They are all worth $75,000, and we are going to talk about all 6 of those stakes races. Myself, Gino Bacola, my friend Phil Cleek, who is a very good handicapper and an owner, knows the horses on the Louisiana Downs track and the Louisiana circuit very, very well. Phil joined me to talk races last year a little bit, and we like to go back and forth when we're talking racing and watching the races at Louisiana. Phil, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Gino. We became fast friends watching my horse Superwise run.
Great horse.
Unfortunately, Superwise got claimed and is now up in Minnesota at last seen. But anyway, we're back in business with a couple of more. I've got a couple of Louisiana breds. One named Emily Has Her Turn. That's a 2-year-old filly with Justin Johnson. And another one by the name of Spirit of Dreams, who is also at Evangeline right now. As a matter of fact, he runs on Saturday, which is Cup Day at Louisiana Downs. And he's in the 4th race. Awesome. So if any of the listeners want to take a look at that particular race, then we're in the 4th race, number 6.
And you could hear my Chihuahua Ellie, who I'm dog sitting. She's excited.
I was wondering if that was my dog.
I was gonna no, that's mine. So she'll calm down in a second. I think the mailman just came by. Eleanor, you need to calm down just a little bit. But we are excited for Saturday, Louisiana Cup Day, 6 stakes races, and we also got Phil's horse running over at Evangeline to get you some action. Now, folks, we are gonna dive into the daily racing form past performances, and we are gonna be looking at the formulator past performances. Now, what I encourage everyone is, you want to play the races, you want to get these past performances for free. And by signing up for DRF bets, you can actually do so. Every time you bet $50, you'll get a credit for another card of past performances that you want. So if you're wagering, you'll be able to stack credit. They even have a match deposit bonus of $250 right off the bat for a sign-up bonus for you. And Phil and I are going to dive into these past performances right now and take a look at the PPs for races 2 and all of the stakes races on Saturday at Louisiana. And I got to say, Phil, this is the 2nd year now that I've been doing some work with Louisiana Downs. In both years, Louisiana Cup Day have been, just like it should be, the best cards of the year, of the meet. The fields are deep.
Absolutely.
The stars have shown up. The betting racing looks incredible. Like, I have to give it up to the whole team over there, racing secretary and everyone, because they did a great job getting so many quality horses to show up again for Louisiana Cup Day.
Absolutely. I think this year it's even stronger, Gino.
Yeah.
Looking at these races, it's much more difficult, at least to me, from a standpoint of handicapping. And I didn't do a very good job last year. So I hope I do a better job this year with it being more difficult, at least on paper. And they have been doing a wonderful job at Louisiana Downs, especially you look at the purses that they have. They've increased the purse structure on the daily cards. The fields lately especially have been phenomenal. And of course, one of the reasons for that is Matt Crawford riding some races that the horsemen want to put their horses in. But another thing I think is Lone Star, their meet ending. We've had an influx of a lot of the Texas horsemen and jockeys that have made their riding colony stronger at Louisiana Downs. And that's created fuller fields. And another thing that they've done at Louisiana Downs is on Monday and Tuesday, the start times have been at 4:05. Well, that helps 2 ways. One, with the horses themselves, because they're running in intense heat during this time of the year. But another thing it does is it allows those South Louisiana horsemen from Evangeline to bring their horses up comfortably the next morning, get them to the track in the receiving barn well in time for them to get any medications that they need.
Process is so much easier with that post time now.
Oh, it's just so much better. You've got all of these people, not just for Saturday, but several of the South Louisiana horsemen coming up and running on the regular race day cards at Louisiana Downs, and it's been tough from a handicapping standpoint for me, but from the standpoint of full fields, handicapping opportunities for the horse players, I just think that we're headed in the right direction. And I do have another horse at Louisiana Downs that is in training with Joey Foster. He's an Arkansas bred by the name of Moonshine Swag, and you can look for him to possibly start late in the meet at Louisiana Downs. If we don't get a chance to run at Louisiana, we'll probably go to Oaklawn and train up to a race there. Of course, the purses are ridiculous.
Monster purses
for Arkansas breds.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the book, and there's a race on the second day, which is Saturday, a maiden special weight for my type of horse, and it's 116,000. So, and a lot of the Arkansas horsemen are at Louisiana Downs right now. It's a natural step. The training
timing
surface is so good at Louisiana Downs. It's one of the safest surfaces there is to train and race on. And a lot of the horsemen are doing themselves a service by not having to ship a long way to keep their horses fit, and also getting them ready for the upcoming Oaklawn meet in December. So lots of good things going on. Kevin Preston's got things going well.
That team,
and of course,
man,
Roxanne
Kevin,
and all the team.
You mentioned all the ones that I was getting ready to mention too, from Kevin to Matt to Roxanne. Really feels like that team, they're all doing a great job. They're all great.
They're in step with the horsemen, Gino. Yeah. I really believe that. And then, of course, you have the return of the Super Derby this year as well, and that's going to add some more prestige to this race meet at Louisiana Downs. And, of course, they're celebrating the 50th year of racing this year at Louisiana Downs.
And we are going to celebrate with a great Louisiana Cup card Saturday, August the 5th. If you want to follow along with me and Phil, we're going to go through all 6 of the stakes races on the card, and we're going to start with race number 2 as we look at the Louisiana Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And Phil, we have a horse to the outside in here that is such an impressive runner. This is a 4-year-old filly now, Free Like a Girl. She has won 13 of her 28 career starts. What I found incredibly impressive, she's a 12-time stakes winner out of her 13 wins. If you took the rest of the field and added them up combined, they have 4 stakes wins combined, and she's got 12. 3 times as many as the rest of the field put together. She's versatile. She can sprint. She can go a little longer. She can sit. She's just been such a nice horse to train, to own for Chassis Pommier. Thornton's going to be aboard to ride. She's 5-2 on the morning line, and she's a very, very classy 4-year-old Louisiana bred now.
Yeah, and already 13 wins to her credit overall as well. But one you kind of would love to own right there. Pays the bills extremely well. She is a dandy. She's so versatile. She can run any distance, any surface. It doesn't matter. She shows up virtually every time. She is 1 for 2 at Louisiana Downs, and obviously she's a choice in this race. And seems like she'll get a fair amount of speed to set up what I think will be a late kick. Does have to deal with that outside post position, but they can kind of evaluate where they're sitting at that point, and makes it a little easier. And she won't suffer any from giving up a little bit of ground, because she knows how to put that turn of foot in deep stretch. There is speed in this race. I think you're going to see a lot of speed coming from the 2 Miss Priority. That particular horse with Gerard and Lanson aboard has shown some speed in the past, and has shown some pretty good efforts in 2 of her last 3 races. She is going to add fuel to that fire, along with several others. There's a horse in here that I'm interested to see how she's going to perform, coming from Monmouth Park, a recent acquisition of the Shane Wilson barn. Was with Jose Camejo.
The total wild card in this race, right? And you're talking about blinkers on for the leading trainer, Shane Wilson, in this particular race. So
Joel Dominguez, who is, I believe, the leading rider at this stage at Louisiana Downs. He's in a battle with Jose Guerrero at this stage. And he appears to be a horse who, if he can take to the track, and he has run on this track a couple of times in the past with the win, but if he can take to the track after the ship, he's going to be one to deal with, I think, through the stretch.
I think if you're trying to beat the 12, or if you're using others along with however you're playing this race, this horse is in the mix for me, no doubt about it, because things that you're pointing out, she's got a little more speed than I think it looks like she had in her last few races. Like, she can sit closer. She can also pass horses, and she's won over this track. The blinkers come on. She's 7 times stakes placed for top-notch connections here. She hasn't been beaten all that much by Free Like a Girl a few different times. I have no problem including her in exotics, Phil. The two for me that I'm kind of intrigued by that I think could be okay prices are to use with along with the 12 or right next to each other, the 6 and the 7. I actually think Zydeco Music, the other Shane Wilson horse, could get the type of trip that we're thinking maybe Free Like a Girl gets, sitting off a good amount of speed in here, where she actually faced Open Company last time out when she was third and she was only beaten a neck. She beat Miss Priority last time out. She's been very good at the Louisiana bred level in the Louisiana bred ranks. She's proven here. So is she as good as the 12? Well, no, she's not as proven. I think if you took the Free Like a Girl out of this race, the rest of the field is all pretty competitive, right? They're all sort of like, there's not a lot that separates them. So if I'm playing the race that way, I think the 6 and 7 are both very intriguing horses to use in the mix, however you're playing.
Yeah, I can see your point on Zydeco Music for sure. Anytime Shane Wilson puts 2 in, it's not like he's trying to put in an entry to beat someone. He actually believes he can win both of those races. And, of course, they're for different connections as well, yep. So they've been aiming for this spot. A couple of horses that I was looking at as possible upsetters, and I may be going out on a precarious limb here.
Oh, we got to get on the limb, though, every now and then.
Final Quest, number 3, with Tommy Pompel aboard for Brett Brinkman. Brinkman's barn has been on fire lately at Louisiana Downs. That's one thing to look at. And this filly faced Free Like a Girl a couple of races back, had a little trouble throughout in that race, didn't really get up into the mix, but only finished a few lengths behind in 5th in that race, going 5.5. This race, of course, is at 6, and that was at Evangeline Downs. And a lot of times horses, you either like the Evangeline Downs surface or you don't. And some horses that don't particularly like the Evangeline surface will absolutely love Louisiana Downs for whatever reason. Some like both. But some horses that have been running at Evangeline and have been running against that tough type of company, they get a change of surface and they just come alive for some reason. This is a horse that I am definitely going to have a couple of dollars on in my savers for the exactas and maybe even a win bet if the price is right. But the 3 horse in this race, also another one that I am considering for my exactas is number 11, Nunya. Nunya has raced at Louisiana Downs 4 times, and she's won twice, and she's been second twice. Never been out of the exacta at Louisiana Downs. Yes, she's probably been running against a little bit cheaper competition, and the last time she did try to go up against tougher competition was against Free Like a Girl at Evangeline Downs. Back to Louisiana Downs, where she's done her best running. This will be a horse for me with Juan Vargas, who is an outstanding jockey, one that really gets the most out of his horses, very aggressive. And he's someone who's been doing very well at Evangeline Downs as well. So, the connections of this horse, Ronnie Ward, always does well at Louisiana Downs. And they're bringing this one in, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a long shot to take a look at.
Yeah, the 5 is honest, but I don't think the race shapes up that well with all the speed in here for a bailout who's likely going to be forwardly placed. A horse who's just a total wild card too is the 1, Nora G. she ran really well in her first 3 starts, all against Louisiana bred company last year at Fairgrounds. And then she stepped up and faced open company in the Silver Bullet Day. The horse who beat her that day was a horse named the Alley's Look. And she actually came back to run 3rd in the Kentucky Oaks.
Well, and her only bad race, Gino, is the race where she went a route of ground.
Yeah.
Her other races, she was right there at the wire.
So it's, we have to deal with the layoff and the rail draw, which might not be easy in a big field like this where she could get trouble and shuffled back. But, Emmanuel Nieves, who's always one of the top riders around in that top 5 perennially.
One of my favorites.
Right. The sensation. He's able to work
I don't mind putting him on my horses either. He's an outstanding rider.
And this one's a price. That is Nora G in a very fun race to kick off the first of 6 stakes races for Louisiana breds on Louisiana Cup Day on Saturday. Let's move to the 3rd race. We're going to take a look at the Louisiana Cup Distaff in race number 3. And there are some fun horses who, we've seen and we know pretty well. Fort Polk has been in stakes company. This is a 7-year-old mare who was the runner-up in the Louisiana Cup Distaff last year behind the winner of that race, Cheapskate Diva, who's also backing here. She's installed at 3-1. You have a horse like Eve's Delight, who's showed speed in a lot of these Louisiana bred stakes races. You have others like to the outside AG Charlotte, who's become very, very honest and now a 7-time winner. She really blossomed towards the middle to end of her 3-year-old year and into the start of her 4-year-old season. So some real quality fillies and mares in this distaff here, Phil. Talk to us about some of the horses who are on your radar.
Well, you mentioned a couple of them, but this is such a difficult race. You can, put your hand in a bucket and reach out a number and have probably just as good a chance as any, because it's such a difficult race. And I think you can make a case for just about anyone in this race. I landed on a Cheapskate Diva. I like how that particular horse has been running. I think she'll have the lead. I think they'll have to come get her.
And what I like too about her, Phil, is she's gotten, as she's grown up a little bit, which tends to happen, she's gotten a little bit more rateable. Like she can relax a little more than she used to feel like she was really, really kind of just one-dimensional. If she was headed, she'd back. She can sit off a little bit. And that's what happens as these horses grow up. They get a little more mature. And she's tough for me to just leave out of any, like she's so honest. And the Bard has only been sending live runners.
Oh, yes. I mean, Bobby Phelps, ridiculously successful lately with his runners. I missed a couple of his runners, and I'm a little bit mad at myself for not betting on a couple of them. But, from the standpoint of making sure that the horses are fit and ready to go, he's as good as any. And, I
who
like
else is as good as any, Phil? Roxanne, who joins us right now.
Hey,
I have to say sorry to Roxanne because we had all planned out for earlier in the week and we had to call an audible. So very happy that Roxanne was able to join us to talk. Roxanne, we just jumped into race 3. So we're talking about the distaff here, and we were talking about the 4 Cheapskate Diva and how unbelievable the Phelps barn has been with like everything they've been sending out this year.
Well, real quick about Bobby, he literally is a 5-horse trainer. I mean, that's all he has in his barn. And he's so meticulous with his horses. Like, it's crazy. I mean, the man knows every little bump, anything on that horse hair, he knows them all. So he definitely does well for what few horses.
I have a feeling he's going to be getting a few more in his stable.
Fingers crossed. I mean, and what a cool filly Cheapskate Diva is. Obviously the winner last year. So we'll see if she can do a repeat. But this is no easy race, as you guys are well aware.
And so I want to introduce Roxanne for those of you who have been watching. Roxanne is the ambassador over at Louisiana. She's the on-track handicapper. She does a fantastic job. You've probably seen her and the star shining even more on TVG recently. They've been having a lot of interviews with her as she sets everything up. And Roxanne, we were praising Matt again with what a great job they did with the card this year and last year. These Louisiana Cup stakes days are unbelievable. All 6 of the stakes races, quality and quantity, like the best of all the Louisiana breds.
That is true, very much so. They hustled, and that's one thing about, Louisiana breds. There's a high demand for them, and it's a great breeding incentive here in the state. And so definitely a worthwhile day of races, and we're pretty excited about how well this card filled and the horses that are running on Saturday.
So, Phil, we're talking about the 4 Cheapskate Diva, who's no doubt a major player and a horse to beat in here. One horse that's I might throw into some exotics at a price that I'm intrigued by is a horse, the number 6 Star Moment, who's not as proven as some of the others, but she really has not done much wrong. And Calhoun and Thornton don't come out to Louisiana a whole bunch, but when they do, they usually come out trying to win races and very live. I think she can sit a nice trip in here. And she has some upside as a 3-year-old filly who can keep getting better and better. She was one I wanted to mention. Roxanne, talk about this race a little bit. Who are some of the horses on your radar in the distaff here?
Well, you just keyed in on one of my long shot plays in that race as well, Gino. And I do think me and you, Gino, we do. Whenever I get your selections in, I'm like, oh man, I was like, great minds. But, it is a very tough race. I mean, Patricia West's horse in here, AG Charlotte.
Yep.
She ran a banger of a race last out against Lady Jeopardy, which is Joe Duhan's runner.
And that was open company, too.
Exactly. And you should have seen Patricia. She was in the hallway pacing back and forth. I think she's nervous. And everybody knows Patricia because she's Lee Thomas's assistant here as well. So she's a multitasker in that regard. But she's one of those as well. She carries a full plate, and but she's very invested with her runners, obviously, and especially Louisiana breds. So definitely a very contentious race. I do like Brett Calhoun's horse in there as well. I think he's turning the corner the right direction here of late, and she's this is not an easy race.
No. Yeah. Those are the ones on my radar for sure. The 4, 6, 8, who we spoke about, kind of in that top tier for me.
Well,
Phil, who else?
Gino, they say brilliant minds think alike. So I can definitely tell I'm not in the brilliant category because I did not like Star Moment at all. I think she's a cut below, but that doesn't mean she can't win simply because I don't like one. That's certainly not a reason to bet against one if you like one.
I was curious about the 7 here, little Birdie Call, who's been also facing open company for Lozada with Patty Turner. She'll make the 3rd start of her form cycle. She might be in a good spot. She might be kind of moving in the right direction. Phil, talk to us about anyone else in this race that you're looking at.
Well, I'm heading in another direction. I love Eve's Delight in this race. I think Eve's Delight is the horse that's going to surprise everybody. And has been running again last time at Evangeline Downs, last 3 times at Evangeline Downs, and has been 4th, 2nd, and 4th. And I think coming to Louisiana Downs, where she's won 2 races, she's going to love being back home. And then she's going to get the pace. I think there's going to be a little pressure put on Cheapskate Diva in this race by Star Moment, by some of the others, AG Charlotte, who I thought was a little workmanlike in her last win, even though it was against open company. I'm not saying she's tailing off or anything, but that last win to me just wasn't impressive enough for me to put a check mark by her. But a horse also to the outside that I like, along with the 2 horse, is a Whole Lot of Mo. That's another one that I think will be running in the lane. And so my exactors are going to be Cheapskate Diva, Eve's Delight, and Evie's Delight, and Whole Lot of Mo.
And that's
just an exacta box that I'll be playing.
That's the type of race it is. Honestly, we're going to see so many horses that can win these races that really can. The horse that Phil mentioned, Whole Lot of Mo. You've got AG Charlotte, Birdie Call, Star Moment, Cheapskate Diva. Either the inside 2 horses, none of them would shock me in this race. Like, any of them have a legitimate shot. That's what makes these Louisiana Cup days, so good. So many ways you can find value, and such contentious races. As we turn the page to race number 4, we got the babies. It's the juvenile. The Louisiana Cup Juvenile is race number 4. This one also kicks off the Pick 6 jackpot. 5.5 furlongs. And generally in these races, they will be going pretty quick early because you have a lot of horses that have shown speed or have won. I didn't think there were a lot of horses that actually kind of sat in this race, which was impressive. They seem like they're patient. But Roxanne, it's so impressive to me to see barns with these young horses, and I've seen some good ones in Louisiana over the last few years, these barns that do really, really well with these young horses. And it's like a whole different ball game for some, right? Some really focus in on the young horses and working with the young ones, and others are more, turf trainers that have horses that are distance types. It's really, in racing, it's just totally different. And I love seeing races like this. Many ways you can go in here. Talk to us about some of the horses you like in this race, the Louisiana Cup Juvenile.
Oh, geez. Now, this is not, these 2-year-olds. And I love baby races. I'm not going to lie. My dad raised me through and through to always look at the pedigrees, always study, the works and whatnot. And so 2-year-old races, I so love them. Saratoga has been my weakness this year. But, JJ Gilner, has the 11 Strong Promise, and JJ, obviously we know him from his dad, Scotty Gilner, and JJ's very attentive. I saw him out this morning, asked him about how everybody was doing, and he said everybody's training great, and he actually has a horse that we might see Super Derby, not running this weekend, but we talked a little bit about that. But JJ, he's been very lucky with his 2-year-olds this year. And he's, for a young trainer, I think he's 22, 23, give or take.
Wow.
He's very much like his father. And when you spend $125,000 on a horse at the Texas sale like that, and a 2-year-old at that, I mean,
they've got some ability. Yeah.
So you don't very, very see that very much. So obviously the horse has 2 outs. Would have liked CJ to come in and ride, but obviously they're bringing in Luis Fuentes, and so we'll see.
He's tough to leave out for me too, right? Like he could be really good from the outside there. And he's a good starting point in this race, which is a field of 12. Phil, give us a couple that are on your radar.
Well, obviously that's the standout of the bunch. His race at Lone Star was fabulous. I was there to see that race last time. That is an outstanding 2-year-old, and
he sat like a winner all the way around, right?
If he holds his form, there's no one that can beat him in this race.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I mean, they're going to have to really jump out of their skin to be able to beat him. That said, C.J. McMahon chooses to ride the 2 for Carol Castile. The horse was trained, obviously, by Steve Flint before Castile took over the training duties, and he owns the farm, so I think he can do whatever he wants to do. But he is an outstanding horseman for several years as well, and this horse fits in the race for sure. And if it improves a little bit, will be difficult to beat. Did come from far off the pace in the Shine Young, the premier race for 2-year-olds at Evangeline Downs. El Dinero was another one that
the horse who beat him
won that race.
He was impressive.
No doubt. And he's one that to me fits a little bit as well.
Yeah.
The one horse at Louisiana Downs, CD's Wildfire, broke his maiden, and it's been a couple of months ago. And this particular horse may like the added distance and was closing resolutely. Not much on the speed figure, but those change a lot, especially.
Yeah, I was going to say that early 2-year-old buyer in a month or two, those change a lot, right?
Right,
and
they
improve quite a bit. So I have no problem. And one other fun one that I was just impressed, by watching some of these races. I don't know how good he is or if he can win in this race, but I definitely put him in my stable mail to keep an eye on. Was Rising Kodo Star. I was just impressed by that race when. First time out of the box as a 2-year-old to come from 7 lengths out of it and to close like that, that's impressive. You don't see a lot of horses that can sit, relax, and then come closing. Visually was very impressive. Will need to step
and Aubrey reunites with that horse as well. So
yeah. So at least one to mention. Roxanne, I think that we have the right horse to start with, though, right? It almost feels like there's like 2 races in here. I think if the 11 runs the race, it's kind of everyone else for second. If the 11 doesn't show up, well, then it's very contentious, right? Then like any of these other horses, I think could really get in the mix.
Well, as we all know, it's, pace makes the race. And with these babies, I mean, they're still out there trying to figure out everything and whatnot. I asked Shane Wilson about his first timer. Actually, it was young Connor Wilson, his son, who's
nice.
pretty much, in the barn day in and day out, and pretty much his dad's right-hand man. And I said, well, what do you think about your first timer, $1,000? And he said, Dad likes him. So
nice.
Well, if Dad likes him, there's some hope there. So, and Shane's
another horse that is trained by the trainer of Moonshine Swag, my Arkansas bred, is the 3-horse Bradfield Baby, trained by Joey Foster. That's another fast-working firster to take a look at. And
barns that are good with first-time starters too, right?
Well, and if Joey's running him in this spot, then he obviously thinks a lot of him.
And the Dam of Carolina Sky was actually a 6-time winner. 5 of them were on the grass. This is a classy horse too. She's actually had a couple others that are decent horses, and like you said, those barns both know how to get horses ready to rock first time out. So maybe Bradfield Baby, and we know Papa Wilson likes $1,000 a little bit. We heard it from a little birdie there. Yep. Let's turn the page. Race 5 is a race we aren't going to talk about here, but it's a very important race for all of you because it starts that late pick 5. So you really want to get into that low takeout pick 5 there, which will go from races 5 through 9. But we will move to the next stakes race on the card, and we will talk about race number 6, which now is the Juvenile Fillies race. And another race where you do have a lot of proven closers for a 2-year-old race. We've seen a lot of these horses show that they don't mind sitting off the pace and coming and getting them. Phil, let's start with you here. Talk to us about who are some of these 2-year-old fillies that you're liking.
Well, you've got to take a look at several of these. You got Diamond Deal coming off of a very good effort last time out, breaking poorly, circling the field, and just drawing clear. And that was in a straight maiden race. Actually ran against a horse that I'm a partner in called Emily Has Her Turn, and another horse that ran against Emily Has Her Turn that I'm giving a little bit of a chance that had some traffic trouble last time out is the 1 Sarah's Court, who ran in the filly division of the Shine Young and broke her maiden before that. She was not able to get up into contention last time out, but she definitely has a little bit of ability, showed some grit and determination through the lane. She'll have to improve a little bit in this particular spot. My man G Money is going to be aboard for the first time. Chris Rozier's been riding that horse, and so it'll be interesting to see how she responds. But she is a nice filly. Don't let those speed figures fool you against some of these. As the distances get longer, I think she'll be better. The number 8 horse is going to be the favorite, I think, and that's Running Argument.
Yeah, off the back stakes.
She's done nothing wrong so far, so she's definitely one to consider. A couple of the others, my trainer Justin Janson has a horse in named Bohemian Jiggles, who had a little bit of difficulty in that last race that she ran in, which was the filly division.
Fantastic with the Shine too, and the young
absolutely horses. He is a little bit less this year. I've got a 2-year-old that I wish he could be a little bit more fantastic. But we're working on that. I think she'll be in that last book at Louisiana Downs. By the way, Emily Has Her Turn. Look for her on the grass to run. Hopefully, if Matt can find a spot in the final book for a grass race for 2-year-old fillies, Louisiana breds. And the other horse that I put down as I mentioned was Emily's Bullet.
Yeah.
And now this one is one that has run speed figures at Lone Star a couple of times in the past. that will put her right in the mix on this. And of course, Chassis Pommier bringing 2 over, and this one co-owned by her dad. She will definitely be one to take a look at.
And you know what happened in this race too? So she comes out of the race where there were a lot of the same horses. You were talking about that race on July the 7th. And so in the race we're watching, she was the number 10, and she had a good start, but they all lined up on the lead, if you'll notice. So they had to make a decision with her right here. What are we going to do? Do we stay on the lead with like 6 other horses, or do we try to kind of take back a little bit? And then all of a sudden, when you take back, you end up just getting farther and farther back than you would have liked. I think she's got a little bit more speed than it may look like with that last running line. And Roxanne, what's so cool about this race is we've got so many of those good 2-year-old barns. Like I mentioned, Johnson, you were just talking about JJ Gellner, who has a horse at 20-1 with Dominguez aboard the 2, who I think might be sort of a little intriguing long shot. The Pommier barn is so good with the young horses. The Wilson barn is. Joe Duhan has the 9. That barn has been awesome all throughout the meet. Just another great stakes race here.
It really is. I mean, that's the one thing. This day is never easy.
No, it's hard for us handicappers. Yeah.
This is my second Cup Day to be a part of, and it gets tougher and tougher each year. So that we got to chalk that up. But Shane's horse, Ronnie's Deal, it's funny. So actually this week, we went out to Red River Farms, which actually stands El Deal, El Diao, however, potato. And I got to see him up close and personal, and he's definitely that sprinter build stallion. And so the one horse that really looks like her daddy is this Ronnie's Deal. I was kind of, surprised when I saw him. I was like, oh, wow. And again, me and Connor, we talk on the frequent, and he's really hoping for a big race from.
I like her too, Roxy. I think she might be the fastest in here.
Agreed.
Right?
It's all, and Jose's one of those. I mean, if he can get up there and nurse a decent pace,
oh yeah,
I think and he's good at that.
He's so good at slowing him down, walking the dog, getting aggressive, and I think because of the outside, like they don't really have other options, right? It just has to be like go and try to send as hard as you can and get to the front.
Exactly. And so I think as long as Jose rides a smart race, I think it could be all in their hands if they really wanted it. So
I have her, and then the horse who Phil had just mentioned, Emily's Bullet, as sort of the ones that I really am going to try to build some stuff around, because I think they could be nice value in here, the both of them.
Do not snooze on Sarah's Court, people. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Sarah's
absolutely. Court. This horse can run and is sneaky good. And it draws the rail, and it hasn't drawn the rail yet. So that's going to be a thing that's going to help out. Another thing that you have to consider, and I'm interested in another horse just from you said you were interested in, I believe it was Ronnie's Deal, and I am too. Obviously, that's one that can win if it gets to the front pretty easily. But how is Viv's Wild Aces going to do? Yeah. She's that particular horse won easily with Carlos Lozada at Louisiana Downs. It's going to be kind of a test, I think, in this race of what about the fillies in South Louisiana and what about the fillies in North Louisiana?
Yeah.
It's sort of a matchup between these two, and how are they going to perform on this particular day? A lot of it's going to happen at the break.
Yeah, you sort of got Viv's Wild Aces and Ronnie's Deal kind of leading the charge for the Louisiana Downs horses, right? And then you got a couple of the others from Evangeline, and we'll see which ones might have the better form. But yeah, no knocks on the 9 there. Roxanne, any of these other 2-year-olds you want to mention before we turn the page?
I think you guys have done a fabulous job. So I'm just listening to all y'all's wealth of information. So that way I'm taking notes for Saturday.
Perfect.
We'll still be waiting for you and your paddock analysis on Saturday so we can actually place our wagers.
And the key too is like what we're hearing from Roxanne, the stories and the tidbits that she's able to get from people from being around there on the track day in, day out. And then, oh, I remember this horse that ran 2 months ago, and then you saw him the next time and they showed some improvement. Or you remember what happened last time, it was raining, and so they really didn't have a chance that day. That's the kind of thing that's really nice when you follow along with Roxanne now and you listen to some of her analysis. She's going to give you those things that you can't find in the form and you can't find in the past performances either. So that's a real bonus to make sure to follow along with Roxanne and get that great information. As we move to the final 2 stakes races on the Saturday card, we have the Louisiana Cup Turf Classic, and we have, again, like a big field lining up 12 horses with an also eligible. You have Woods and Water, who comes in from Evangeline, just missed in a stakes race last time out, but won the Louisiana Legends Turf 2 back at Evangeline. That'll be a major player in here. Carlia's Dream won this race back in 2021, was 5th in this race last year. You have Boudreaux Talking, who is a stone cold closer, is absolutely no speed, but he comes flying every time, and he's so scary to not have on your ticket when you see him starting to build up that momentum. Phil, let's start with you here in the Louisiana.
If you haven't had that horse on your ticket for the last 10 times, you've lost 70% of the time. Because at Louisiana Downs, this horse has won 7 of 10. That is tough to beat. He is a Louisiana Franks Turf Course legend, formerly known as the Sawyer Turf Course. I don't know if you knew that, Gino.
Nice.
That's some information from an old guy. Obviously that's the horse to beat, in my opinion, in this race. I don't care if he's 50 lengths behind. He knows where that wire is when they come through the lane. The other horse that I like is Carlia's Dream. 2 for 3 at Louisiana Downs, didn't fare so well last year, as you noted. But this is a fantastic horse, a great horsewoman, Karen Jacks, the trainer, bringing in for a Texan that knows how to win races, Carl Moore. And, it's just going to be a difficult race because you do have such great horses. You got a wonderful horse like Woods and Water, always there. He's been a star at Evangeline this summer as well. You got for Shane Wilson,
another 7-time winner, right, over the turf course.
Obviously at a little lower levels and not quite as tough competition, perhaps, but had a fantastic performance last time at Louisiana Downs off the layoff and comes in. Into this race with good credentials as well. And there are others in there that have a chance in that particular race. But I've got to go with the old standby of mine that I've cashed a lot of tickets on, Boudreaux Talking, and then Carlia's Dream and Woods and Water to round out my exactas and tries.
You know where where Boudreaux will be. You'll have some you'll have some binoculars on early, looking for him.
I won't be watching.
You won't be. I was to say you don't really need to until about the last quarter of the race,
right? And I can't do that, Gino, because I always want to move before my jockeys want to move, and that's never a good thing. So I'm just going to let them do the work on that, and I'll wait until they get to the 8th hole, and John McGarity says, "Up and after the lead, here comes Boudreaux Talking," and we'll go on from there.
Roxanne, again. Phil mentioned so many, and all of them are live quality horses. And it's cool to see horses like that for a couple years. A horse like Carlia's Dream, who was back in 2021, won this and then showed back up again last year and is here again and has been handled really well by Karen Jacks. Even others that I thought were sort of fun to mention. A horse like the 6 is like a wild card who comes in from Evangeline and it tries the turf for the first time. Like, no idea with this horse. Total wild card, spotting experience, but who knows? The 10, you got Dominguez, who's been incredible, and this is a horse who's in good form against Open Company, in the last couple. Just when you can mention 8 to 10 horses in each of these races, that just means that even in a day when there's Saratoga and Del Mar running on Saturday, the most contentious races and the best betting races anywhere are at Louisiana Downs.
That is true. I mean, even this past week, it was heck and high water freaking handicapping races.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it was one of those struggles I was having where I was banging my head up against the wall, and then, they crossed the finish line, and I'm like looking back at my, the form saying, what? Why didn't I have that one? Because you're like, well, you can only pick 3, but
because all of them have a shot. Yeah, and that's what it's been. It's been that contentious. Talk to us about this Turf Classic. Who are some of the horses you might be using?
Well, I mean, you keyed in on in a number of horses that I like. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, my aching arch just impressed in his last race. His last 3 have been against Open Company, and I think he's on the right turn right now. I think he's in great form, and I think that's really kind of in his corner. So
I have like I think 3 horses that are going to be in the mix for me. Like if I'm playing late pick 4s, pick 5s, 2, 5, 12 in here. Those are the 3 who Phil mentioned. And I think with those horses, I'll get a pretty good, my aching arch with Guerrero. I think he's going to put himself in a good spot because in this race, he may not be as good as some of the others. So what do you want to do? You want to try to get an advantage. Let's get the jump on them. Let's maybe sit in front of some of these horses that might be better than us and see if we can move before. And that's what Jose does so well. They love this turf course. He sat 4th last time out, about 2 lengths off, just kind of kept the horse in the clear and then pressed the button at the right time and moved. And I agree with you. I'm using the 2 all over the place along with the horse that Phil mentioned. And the 5 is just cool. I mean, he just shows up each and every time. Woods and Water. Like he's really hard to knock overall. But
for sure. And I mean, Carlia's Dream. I mean, Karen Jacks has done such a good job with him in her barn. And it has he's thrown in a couple of races where you're just kind of head scratching, like what happened there. Iron Diego's coming in to ride him, and he knows his horse in and out. So I do think that's kind of a perk for him in that regard. But it's a tough race. So it's one of those where, it's
so good.
You're darned if you do and darned if you don't.
Roxanne was talking about how tough it's been at Louisiana Downs lately. I can vouch for that. I spent a $54 pick 4 ticket the last time they ran, and I hit 1 winner out of the 4.
Yeah.
And it was in the last leg. So,
you're over 3 to start.
It was ridiculous. It was so difficult and great racing at Louisiana Downs. I can't blame anyone for myself because I could find those horses easily after I, saw the races. But, it is difficult from a handicapping standpoint, and it won't be any less easy on Saturday.
No, and just to piggyback that, because misery loves company, last week I was 0 for 6 with the 6 best bets that I sent in, none of them. And it was the same sort of thing. Like you look after, it's like the horses ran like a 2nd or 3rd or not bad. And the horses that beat them were logical, but you just can't use them all, right? And that's what is so good about what we've seen from the product that Louisiana Downs has put forth this year. We'll close out the stakes portion of Saturday with the 8th race, the Louisiana Cup Sprint. They will be flying in here early. And Roxanne, we have some sharp horses in here. A horse like Black Sword, who comes in from Evangeline for Ronnie Averett, has won 2 in a row and has sat really nicely in both of those stakes races against Louisiana breds after facing Open Company. You have Pickens, who's won a couple in a row and is in nice form. Big Chopper always shows up with good efforts on turf, on dirt. That doesn't matter. Those are probably kind of the talking points to start with, at least. Yeah, Mike J's in the mix. Like, just again, when you look at a race, and I don't even know if anyone's going to be under 3-1 in here. Like, that's like, it's just going to be a very contentious group.
I mean, again, there's so many horses you can key in on. I even think Pat Mouton, Hilaire, I mean, only has 1 start at the meet, but, he's 3 for 3 in his last, out of 4 starts this year. And
those races last year, he got in trouble too. Like, he's been in good form for a while and just feeling really, really good about himself.
And so, and it's one thing about it is Mr. Pat's very meticulous in making sure his horses are, running in a race that he feels like they fit, and obviously he just hasn't had the best of luck. Some of the races he's entered, he told me he just haven't gone. So, and so here he comes into this race, and I definitely think he's one that you can't really exclude also. But I mean, it's not an easy race. Black Sword, you keyed in on Ronnie Everett, 2 for 2 right now, down at Evangeline. Has only 1 start here at Louisiana Downs, and it was his 2nd. And that was with last year's Louisiana Cup sprint. So, I mean, not an easy race. So definitely everyone's got their work cut out for them.
Phil, who are some of the horses that are going to be in the mix for you?
I'm going to go back outside to the Gellner barn. I like Big Chopper in this race. I just love this horse.
Yeah.
Big Chopper is a horse that, again, he's cashed a couple of nice tickets for me at fairgrounds. He is always in the mix no matter where he runs. He ran second at Lone Star last time out, only beaten ahead. I had him that day as well. But he's one that just throws his best. Any surface, any distance, it doesn't matter. Big Chopper, just a fine Louisiana bird.
The horse he lost to, too, is a open bred horse named Cogburn, who's actually running this weekend at Saratoga.
Asmussen horse, I believe.
Yeah. So, just to give you an idea, that's a really quality runner who he faced. And this is major class relief, right? I mean, you're facing Louisiana breds here versus that spot.
Right.
I think 6 furlongs is he's run very well at 6'2", so maybe 5.5 and 5 sometimes could be a little short for him with his running style. This might be even better for him.
Well, he's obviously been running company with Black Sword, 3 races that Black Swords came out on the top end. But there's something about this race. I think there's going to be a little pace, and I think that's going to give him an opportunity to come off the pace. Another horse or two that I want to mention, Mike J. With Aubrey Green. That particular horse came from the 10 post at Evangeline Downs and was able to hold on and win by a neck, going 7/8 of a mile. Little turn back, a little different. Don't think it'll be quite on the lead, but I do think
exactly right. Can he sit right off? That's what I'd love to see.
Right.
Him just right off.
I think he can, and Aubrey knows how to get him to finish as well. So that's one to consider. A horse that had a great start at Louisiana Downs for my friend who's battled cancer so strongly over the past several months or almost a year now. I know George Bryant has Pickens in this particular race. Did win last time at Louisiana Downs against slightly easier. Had a little time off, but they've been aiming him for this spot. He was ultra impressive in his last
that trip we're hoping for, right, Phil? That same sort of trip we're looking for, just behind the speeds.
Absolutely. Although, I think this horse can do pretty much anything he wants to.
You're right. He's really versatile.
I think he's pretty versatile. Can sit on the lead, near the lead, stalk, do whatever he wants to do. He's in good form right now, and he's one you don't want to discount. And Riley Mayon has X-Clown returning to the scene of the crime, and she just acquired this horse fairly recently by a claim a couple of races back at Louisiana Downs. Has hit the board once with him, and I think that Devin, knowing how to ride Louisiana Downs track, especially on big days like this, is going to bring this one through the stretch charging. And I don't know if it's going to be enough time to get there or not, but X-Clown will be making a push through the lane, and I think it will do his best running this one late. So lots of horses. Even Autumn Strongman is one that I took a look at, as well as a long shot. And Angel Suarez gets aboard this one, and he's a good aggressive rider, and I think that fits that horse's running style.
Well, we hope we were able to help you out a little bit with these 6 stakes races on Saturday. It is the best card of the year so far at Louisiana Downs. We're going to have a big card coming still later on in the meet with the Super Derby to come. But Roxanne, we have first post, 105 local time, 105 Central time, 9 races on the card, all the big exotic wagers with the pick 6 jackpot, with the pick 5, with the pick 4 quality. What other stuff can we expect on track? I'm sure there's going to be a big day and a lot of folks out there having a great time.
It's going to be a great, fun afternoon. We do, if you're local and want to come out for the races, there's going to be a scholarship giveaway for incoming freshmen. $1,000 are going to get away during the 5th race. Just make sure you bring a valid ID, all the good stuff, all the bells and whistles. So the Breeders' Association here in the state is really good about helping out with college tuition, and hopefully they use it to join the ranks of horse racing. Who knows if they had a degree, right? And they do. So, but we'll also have Food Truck Alley. We've got a lot of food trucks as John McGarry says, the best food trucks in the Arklatex area. They'll be out. We'll have some fun for the kids with jump houses and bouncy houses and some other great activities for everybody to enjoy. So it's going to be a fun day. It's pretty exciting. We always try to get family out and about, and while the kids are out playing in the bouncy houses, mom and dad can go grab a drink and play some horses.
If anyone wants to get some more information too, Martha Clausen did a press release about just to kind of preview the day. It's always, Martha does a great job. She knows everything going on over there. But Roxanne, I really want to give you so much credit for how great a job you're doing this year. I've been so impressed with your work. It's not easy to kind of step up and have to handicap the races every day, every single race, every day. Like no days off, no races off. And that's not the only job you're doing. You're doing all sorts of other things on top of it. That alone is a full-time job, just trying to handicap the races every day. And then handicapping and presenting the races are two totally different skills. Like the greatest handicappers in the world sometimes can't tell you why they like a horse. And you've been able to do that really, really well. It is not easy. You're filming videos. You're doing promotional stuff for the restaurant. You're Roxy on the road. You're doing interviews. I have been so impressed with how much work and how well you've been doing. And I wanted to make sure to give you a lot of credit for it because you're doing a great job.
Very much appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, there's no such thing as a day off when you work.
No,
right?
No.
So, and it's funny, literally today's my day off from the racetrack, but I was still there helping some friends out with some horses today. So,
and then talking with us, right?
Yeah,
so
and don't forget,
it's all good. Laundry can wait until later.
And don't forget Gino, she is the diva of FanDuel TV on Mondays.
Yeah.
And she has generated so much interest in Louisiana Downs racing just through that.
The interviews, absolutely. And
running at 4:05 ultimate time for everybody that's coming home from work to fire up their account wagering and get started.
I actually printed out the picture of Roxanne's face on the big screen. I've got the fat head in my room now of Roxanne. It's so funny when they put your heads on the big screen and you're like, I've never seen myself so big before, but you look great and you sound great and you're doing a great job being the ambassador for Louisiana Downs. And they made a fantastic hire. Kevin's done so great over the last few years. We talked about Matt, all the great work he's done. Matt Crawford, the racing secretary, putting these cards together. Phil, put a final bow on this for us.
It's been a great pleasure to visit with you guys today and talk Louisiana Downs racing on this fabulous day of racing. Hope everybody does well. I hope they stick around after the simulcast to bet on Spirit of Dreams in the 4th at Evangeline Downs, and then come back to Louisiana Downs, especially in time to see Emily has her turn, break her maiden on the grass down there toward the end of the meet. So everybody have a great day on Saturday and best of luck.
And we'll let's plan on doing this again on Super Derby Day. And we can go over a couple of those big races. We can pump up everything happening there and really get some buzz out there for Louisiana. No joke, folks. I've looked at the races this weekend at Woodbine, at Saratoga, at Del Mar. There's good races there, but the best card and the most contentious and most difficult fields are at Louisiana Downs. Make sure to get involved. The low takeout pick 4, low takeout pick 5.
Thing,
right?
Gino,
Go ahead, Phil.
If I can sneak it in.
Please.
Good luck to my friend in the last race with the horse's name is Scamper and Gracie. My friend Blake Lazenby with Golden Sky Racing. He's got her in on the grass. And Unfortunately, Blake, I will drop her odds because I'll have a bet on it.
So that's the 5 in the last race if you're looking for a nice get-out play or a horse to throw into some of your late exotics as well. We're going to hear the voice of John McGarry. He does such a great job over there calling the races too. The crew at Louisiana, so fantastic. Make sure to follow Roxanne and follow along with all of her work. If you ever are tuned in, she's someone that you can listen to, you can trust. She's done the homework, and she knows these horses. She knows the track. She knows the connections. Let's all have a blast this weekend. Let's make some money on Saturday out at Louisiana Downs.